This is an adversarial relationship we've got here. Yawning. Right. Welcome back to Two Homers and a Realist. This is the second preseason's
lead up
fall camp lead up to the big season. We're getting close, guys. It's 3 weeks away. We're out here in the new studio under the stars. The cicadas, we had a cicada infestation, but I think the exterminator has got them taken care of or something because they've quieted down. And we're just enjoying some beautiful, almost fall-like weather. I mean, we're getting close. It's not, I mean, it's August, and when anytime you can be in the, what are we, in the 80s? 84 in August, that's pretty good. I don't care that it's 3 in the morning. So I'm Steve.
Lucas.
Jay. And Connor.
All right. Well, we've got a lot to cover. We've been preparing and doing our research ready for this season. And obviously something that's been going on and is on every OU fan's mind right now, beyond just the practice scene, which is important, is the recruiting scene and what's going down in recruiting. So we've had some hits and some misses. We've had a few misses this week. Is it end times, guys? I had a poll this week out there. I didn't see. Let me pull up the results as we discuss this. We missed on a couple of recruits. The #1 D lineman in the country. We lost to
#1 overall player in the country.
Yeah. We lost to who? To one of the bigger programs, right?
A really really established SEC program.
Yeah. Which one was that?
Not a Bulldog.
How many titles do they have there?
Yeah.
Well, hold on. Let me see. That'd be none.
Yep.
Is it a It's not the.
How many
right?
titles have they played for? Oh, it's
a Tiger.
One.
It's LSU. Oh no.
One or two.
It's LSU? No.
No. I think it's something called Mizzou.
No, they played an SEC title the first 2 years they were in the conference.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah.
That was a really strong SEC.
13
East.
years ago, they played for a couple titles. I was talking national, but go ahead.
For some reason, the furthest west team is in the East.
Yeah. So, anyways,
what do you guys think about that? Talk to me
Missouri.
about it.
Jay, you've got some strong opinions here. What is while Steve pulls up the poll, what's your overall feeling towards the whole situation?
Yeah, I've backed off the cliff now. It's been 48 hours or so. No, it's just frustrating, mainly because it feels like it could have been a catalyst for something major. That's all. It's just disappointing. It's not entirely surprising we didn't get one. I know most people that follow this stuff religiously and are in the recruiting business, I think they're a little bit surprised as well, particularly that we finished what seemed like a 3rd place, so not even a 2nd place.
That could be strategic.
It could be. Mostly, no, it just felt like I don't think any defensive end is a program-changing type player, but the more D-line you can get like that heading into the SEC and getting the #1 overall player in the whole country can just domino for the rest of recruiting. And just perception, just all of it.
So I think that it's important. It's probably way more important for Missouri than it is for us. We're not going to build a program around a guy. They could have a season-changing situation for them, where season-changing means you win 2 or 3 games you weren't going to win, and that keeps a coach employed. That's not going to happen for us. We're not going to win a couple of games because of a guy like that. You're right. It's more on the margin. So I can see why they would be able to throw a bigger bag of money at a guy, but at the end of the day, he's making a weird decision in my estimation, unless he's just saying, I'm taking the money now, and I'm leaving my options open. And his options are open. If things work out at Missouri, great. If they don't, you can transfer. You can go to Georgia. You can go to Oklahoma. You can go to wherever you end up thinking you want to be in a year or 2. In fact, he may never play a down for the University of Missouri, right? And not that we're wishing him ill or anything. We want him to do whatever's best for him, but we'd have to assume his best option would be somewhere with his trajectory and capabilities north of Missouri, like better than Missouri, not
well. And I think it just boils so far down to the monetary aspect of it, and you don't have. I mean, the Missouri fans can talk all they want about their staff, and given I'm not close to that at all, you're not going to tell me they have a Todd Bates there or a a Miguel Chavis even, or, overall, a Brent Venables there who can sit and help develop a guy like that. So it's no secret to anybody, and I think it's not a hot take whatsoever. He's not going there to get coached up by any means. So
by the same token, that could be somebody making a bad decision because as great as he is, he's a number one potential person. That's basically what they're giving you when they give you that rating. You're not the number one person. He's not going to go in the NFL draft next year. You need coaching. You need development. You need to be in a program that's going to develop you. And another aspect to that is he's about to play in the SEC. It's not like he went to a Big 12 school or even weaker where you're saying, yeah, and the competition I'm going to face is going to be so slight that I can be a star. I'm going to break every record at sacks and whatever, and I'm going to be able to just pick my number going into the NFL. He's going to face some really good offenses. He might have a hard time excelling when he's playing teams that can very easily double team him, and because they're not worried about the rest of the Missouri line.
Well, and you got to see what it does to a locker room, right? I mean, you bring a guy in who's making X times more than anyone else on that roster.
He's making more than some of his coaches.
Making more than some of his coaches. I mean, it's and apparently from everything I've heard and the little bit that I've read, seems like a kid who's not full of ego. Again, that's media who's reporting all that out. I don't know the kid personally.
I mean, we've seen cases like this in the past, pre-NIL era, with Ed Oliver going to Houston, and that was just a shock to everybody. Like, why would that kid go to Houston? And then Ole Miss had Robert Nkemdiche, and that was turns out he was still in the bag at Ole Miss. And why did their coach lose their job, Hugh Freeze? Would he get run up in some NCAA stuff?
He had cell phone records for strip clubs and
he had all kinds of
kind of stuff.
So I mean, we've seen this lay out in the past, and I can't remember. Did Ed Oliver go in the first round? Or
I do think he went in the first round.
He didn't go. He wasn't number one overall D tackle type that you would expect with all the hype that he had coming out of high school. I mean, he was a later first round, I think. And then where did Nkemdiche go? He didn't go the first couple rounds, I don't feel like, and he was all world. So sometimes they don't pan out. Sometimes they just go to the wrong program and don't get to do what they should because the entire offensive line focuses on blocking that one dude because he's the only guy on the team to worry about. So as opposed to going to a Georgia or Clemson or wherever that's got a stacked D-line, and they can't just double you up every time.
Yeah, again, for me, maybe this isn't the reality, but it sure seems like the perception. We need to change the narrative, not just on the field, but just in general about the Oklahoma defense. And if the number one overall player in the country says, I'm going to Oklahoma, maybe it doesn't change anything with any of the other defensive players you're trying to recruit, but I actually do think it does. I think it raises eyebrows of other elite defensive players. They're like, oh, really? Wow,
but okay,
they're starting to stack.
Case,
I mean, it does on offense because we watched Spencer Rattler bring in
3 5-star wide receivers. To make. In this particular case, is it going to matter, or would it? I don't know. Is he bringing anyone else to Missouri? I don't think so.
That's kind of the point, because you would think you could sell to this kid. We already have a good 4-star defensive tackle committed right now.
Yeah.
I hate to say that we're a lock or in the lead for a 4-star defensive end like Nigel Smith, but everyone seems to be like he's pretty locked into us, which is another high 4-star kid. We all know about David Stone. High hopes there.
Yeah.
Local kid, but he's playing in Florida now.
You would think
you could, you're talking to each of those guys individually, but they talk to each other too, and you're like, hey guys, who are they going to block? All 4 of us come in together, right? Like, that's advantageous to everyone to all come in together. So for me, that's why it's frustrating, because I feel like the domino effect of that, if you are concerned about getting a Stone, if he's like, man, I've got 2 bookend defensive ends that are,
But keep in mind, that's how it benefits us.
Right.
It's not necessarily how it benefits any one particular player, especially if, and I'm not casting dispersions or making assumptions here, but if this player in particular, and how do you say his last name?
Nawari?
Nawari, yeah, okay. If he...
Waneri.
Nawari, yeah.
Waneri.
Waneri. No, don't pronounce the N.
Don't pronounce the N.
Waneri, sorry.
How about it doesn't matter because he's not, no.
I think we'll be saying his name at some point in the next 4 years.
Probably will be. So it could be that this kid doesn't want competition. And
I don't think it was about...
That could be a negative sign for... He may want the easy route. I don't know. That's got to be something that you think about when you got a guy who makes a decision like this, where if he had gone to Georgia, the narrative is totally different and the worry is totally different about can we compete with Georgia. Here you're kind of just scratching your head going, why Missouri? What are you doing? What are you thinking? But if he's thinking, I don't want a lot of competition.
And I want to make a lot of money.
Real fast, then... And maybe he doesn't have the work ethic, or maybe he doesn't have what it takes for what you want. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I might try and keep my boys close to home too. I don't know. You know.
Oh yeah, no doubt about that. Well, as far as the poll goes, and it's not just with Waneri. Did I say it right? Waneri, but asking about all of the recruits that we've been hitting and missing on. We've missed on some recent ones. And is it no biggie the way it goes? 26%. Painful but manageable, 57%. And that's where I would be. Canary in the coal mine, 9%. And the end times were toast, 8%. So I don't know if those doomers are being serious or not. But come on, guys.
So on maybe a final note here, but is there anyone that we have that we've missed on that we thought we were going to get in this situation? We've had a couple of instances in the past couple of years.
This cycle?
No, but in general. In the past few years, just kind of alluding to that question, that has gone and been a big name somewhere else?
Not yet.
Ohio State receiver.
Garrett?
Yeah.
And
Wilson.
the Ohio State cornerback as well.
The kid
Proctor.
from Tulsa.
Josh Proctor. And there was another, Okuda?
Yep, Jeff Okuda.
Yeah.
Who came to the Ohio State game in 16, prepared to commit, and then we laid an egg, and they came back and swooped him up. So, but that's 7 years ago. So,
if you look at where we all have our PTSD from the last couple of years,
the kid that went to Clemson.
It's
offensive line.
Julio Jones.
True. Gabe Dindy. But Gabe Dindy was a legacy. I'm pretty sure that his parents met at OU and got married and everything. And they had moved to Florida, but...
He jumped ship because Lincoln left, though.
Yeah, but
I think. I think he probably comes if.
Okay, but still a kid you think you should get,
bags
right?
Too.
And then last year was very similar to how this felt, which is why everyone's really just kind of.
And in the same position.
It's probably the final straw because.
Group, so that's where it hurts. Yeah.
Hicks last year. Everybody said it was ours. The last minute, and I could be wrong, but didn't even the morning of tell the coaches.
Yes, no, he told that coach the
coming to OU.
Of. Yeah,
and then a couple hours later,
from all accounts, he did him dirty.
Right.
Well, yeah.
Peyton Bowen did that to Oregon for us, so.
Yeah. Not exactly the same. There was a death
you win some, you lose some.
With the OU coach. So that was he skipped a funeral, right? Or that was the timing was with a.
Was that Hicks?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was.
I thought that was this year's.
Todd Bates did that with someone who went and talked to someone after.
Oh no! That's the kid who
something.
committed and then went else. Yeah. Oh gosh. Yeah. Who committed to go? Who committed and then we had the secret trip to Northwestern.
Yeah.
Illinois.
Illinois.
Yeah. So
I don't remember who that kid was.
Anyway, it happens. It happens with these kids, and you got to move on.
It's a fickle business.
It's a fickle thing, and they're trying to figure.
You do move forward though. We missed out on David Stone, and one, you can't lose elite homegrown talent, especially
homegrown
at defensive tackle
via Florida, though.
But he almost came back and transferred. He was thinking about playing his senior year of high school here.
2 years he
was thinking about not even going to IMG this year. He's thinking about coming back and playing for Midwest City or something.
But you don't count him. He's not an Oklahoma recruit. He's not an OK Preps recruit.
Well, he's only 1 year removed.
Yeah, he's only played his.
He played his whole life
2
here.
years at IMG.
Yeah, but I mean, he will have played. This will be his second or third year at IMG.
Second.
Yeah, I still. It's hard for me to say that's a.
I mean,
true homegrown.
If he's
kid.
fixed to be 18, he spent 15 years of his life in Oklahoma.
This staff has only recruited him since he's been in IMG.
Yeah, he's pretty new to the staff, as everyone would be.
It's still a massive miss that you just can't afford to miss on.
Yeah, I'm not using it as
Well,
an
when you
excuse,
look
I'm
at
just
all
saying.
the misses and you say at one of these you've got to land, and that would start to add up to.
And it's just that position, you know. It really is, you know, it's quarterback number 1, D tackle number 2. Like that, those are the two players.
Yeah.
They just don't make. There's not that many human beings that are that big and that athletic, and everybody wants them.
Well,
and
beyond
everybody
that,
needs them.
they're very vital to the league that we're playing in and the level of football we're trying to play at.
Yeah.
If you are Boise, it's not that vital. It's not that important, but it's real important in the SEC, and it's real important if you're trying to compete at the very top echelon of the U.S. Of the SEC. So yeah, I think it's. I don't know if I'd move it to canary in the coal mine, but you start to be more and more concerned. That said, we've got a potential to really change that narrative in this upcoming season. We've talked about position groups, and that is the position group we're probably most excited about, is the D-line. And so if we start to shine, have a good record,
It'll be
show
easy to
all
sell
the
those
progress,
recruits.
it just is momentum. It just starts to snowball downhill in the best of ways.
Yeah, if you can, you know, take a narrative of these were average players, decent players, and then we had the last 18 months to coach these guys up, and now look at them.
Yeah.
What can we do with you?
And by the way, where are you? How are you doing?
And for somehow these kids can't look back at the Clemson defensive line somehow like Waneri.
Right.
When you talk about development. So
what's funny is, I mean, some of us have kids that age. We remember ourselves being that age. I can see how that just doesn't resonate enough with them. They're gonna see what they want to see out of the whole situation. And if they refuse to look at that and think of it as ancient history, then you're up against that, and I don't know what you do about it.
Well, it's hard to sell the long game now too. It's hard to sell.
Yes.
Yeah,
look
when
at
you
where
can
we
just pick
can
up and
take
leave
you.
whenever you want.
Yeah, I mean it's hard to sell like it. That's why I think building depth nowadays is so difficult. It's so to tell a kid, hey, come here, learn, and that's why I maybe respect what Jackson Arnold and the whole thing that he's been saying since he's been here is like, I'm excited to sit back a year, learn the offense, learn from Dylan Gabriel, even though I don't know if Jackson has a ton to learn from him. But I appreciate the sentiment there of I'm going to go sit in a system, I'm going to go learn it and understand it and realize I'm not going to be a guy day one.
Right.
So it's hard to go sell a kid who's been told his whole life, especially in his high school years, that hey man, you are the guy. This is your team. You're the man. And getting him to go into a system where you've got a bunch of those dudes there. So
what do you think the probability is that one of two, Hicks and Waneri, play in an OU uniform at some point?
And or?
Or. So one or both.
75%.
Woo! It's a big number.
I mean, I would say there's
I was
probably
going
a
to say
bigger
33%,
chance.
and I'm pretty happy.
There's probably a bigger chance for Hicks just because he's already spent one season on campus.
Yep.
And
Stone? Hicks?
No, Hicks.
Oh, you said Hicks. Sorry, I'm sorry.
And if you're not on the field this year,
When do you expect to be?
Right.
Or you're waiting so long that, like...
Oh,
So-
I'm gonna back up my answer. I was thinking when you said Hicks, I thought Stone.
No, I'm not saying this recruiting class. I'm saying
no,
the
I'm
two
sorry.
big misses that
Yeah.
seem to be misses.
we
haven't yet missed on Waneri. He could still
And,
come to OU.
and Dindy as well because
20%.
This is Dindy's. This is his third year coming up.
Right.
So if he's really not getting on the field for A&M, what are you still doing?
Who was the other big offensive lineman that we thought the
Is it Tristan Lee or something like that?
No, that was the guy that went to Clemson. Well, that's one of them. That's
Okay.
the guy that went to Clemson. Who's the white guy that went to A&M? It was us and A&M the whole time. He was from that area.
What position?
I think he was an offensive tackle.
Oh, he's their new center. He's
Yes.
their center. He's their starting center.
Yeah. Okay, he's the starter
I can't
now?
think of his name, but yeah.
Okay.
So there's a lot of
he's
opportunity
playing.
here to.
I mean, there's guys like
recruit
Jacob
guys away.
Lacey was down to OU and Notre Dame, and he went to Notre Dame,
And now he's here.
and now he's here. So it's not far-fetched
Might not play,
when
but he's
stuff
here.
like this happens.
Absolutely.
Was it Notre Dame and OU or Notre Dame and Clemson?
He was rumored, OU was, maybe it was top 3, but Lacey was a name around here that for sure we were down to his final pick-a-hat type situation, and he picked Notre Dame. And now he's on campus at OU. We've got, what about the Washington tight end?
Yeah, I was about to say, good
committed
segue
to
there.
committed to Notre Dame, and now he's
Decommitted.
decommitted.
And he's been crystal balled to OU. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nate Robinson?
Nope,
Robertson?
it's not Nate Robinson, I don't
I
think.
think it's Robertson. Nate Robertson.
I don't know.
Well,
It's-
thinking about tight ends.
It's surprising to me that Alexander's not coming here with his dad being a prominent tight end at OU.
Yeah, real prominent. Yeah. That is.
that was pretty shocking. But they're
Nate
both on the
Roberts.
same. They're both on the
Roberts.
same team at Washington High School, apparently.
Hmm.
So that'd be a high school team to kind of pay attention to.
No
this-
kidding. Apparently
this
so.
fall.
Well, speaking of tight end, so Lucas, your homework was to go back and watch all of the former Jeff Lebby coached games in his history and report back on how many times he used the tight end.
I didn't watch them all, but
Uh-huh.
I did.
You dabbled?
I did dabble, and it just doesn't seem like we talked about last pod. And Jay said sometimes you don't really utilize a tight end if you don't have a dude at that position, but sometimes you just, I don't know.
It's not part of your offense.
It's not part of the offense, even if you have a dude.
But you go find a way to find.
But you find a way to make
position.
use of them. And I feel like the Stogner isn't the major receiving type tight end. And even though when he stepped foot on campus, we all thought he was the successor to Andrews or, whatever, or Calcaterra, and then it just hasn't panned out. And I feel like it's going to be, we're going to finish this season, no matter how good the offense is, I think we're going to look back and say, man, if we'd have used a tight end a little bit more in passing situations, we could have picked up that 3rd and 8 or, a pump fake to a wide receiver and throw it over the middle of the tight end for a 20-yard gain.
And that's what I was about to say. Stogner's never really been that mid-range,
I mean, the play he
mid-yardage.
got hurt on against Kansas was like a 40-yard gain or something, wasn't it?
Yeah, but I mean, the plays at least I remember is him going down the field and catching the ball. I mean, Bedlam in 2021 when he catches that ball during the comeback against Oklahoma State, the almost comeback against Oklahoma State, the 2020 Texas game, Rattler throws a ball up to him on I think a 3rd and long or a 3rd and mid. And he goes up against the defender that's in his face and catches the ball over the top of him. I don't think we have that guy who's going to stretch a defense like we had in Andrews or anything like that.
But I also don't think Levy's offense uses that.
Yeah. So I think it holds true to what we said is you get a guy that can do that, you find a way to do that. But unfortunately, like you said, I do think there's going to be occasions where, man, I wish we had a guy who could stretch the defense out over the middle of the field like that, or catch a ball on a 10-yard crossing route and take it up the field a little bit.
But Braden Willis was that guy, and I don't think we utilized him doing that as much as they should, even though he's considered an H-back.
Yeah.
He was so much in the backfield last year.
Yeah.
So
And I just think that's Levy's offense. I just
Well,
don't think it's – I think I'm going to come away at the end of the season saying, damn, I really wish we had a tight end.
Really wish we
Yeah,
had
we threw
next
the ball
year's
to.
tight end class, essentially.
I mean, maybe.
Yeah.
That's what it looks like.
So thinking about that and potentially not utilizing players the way that we would have liked to seen them utilized, especially at the tight end position in the past year. I mean, is that how we're describing it, tight end, or is H-back, or?
I mean, I like a true tight. I don't think Stogner's an H-back.
No.
I think he's
right.
a tight
No.
end.
Right.
No, not at
God,
all.
if we see Stogner in the backfield this year, it's something.
What about playing quarterback? You think he'll play quarterback?
And I mean, Mark Andrews was a tight end and a split wide, which Stogner has been using that in the past, but in Lincoln's offense, but I don't think that's what he's going to be. I just don't think Levy's going to throw the ball to tight end, and I think we'll regret it.
All right, so thinking about that and regretting it, one of the things that I think we have to do both offensively and defensively, though, when we look at all the mistakes, I thought about this today and came up with, I think, was a pretty good way to frame it or analogy for it. last year we had complaints about clock management. We had complaints about quarterback development. We had complaints about lots and lots and lots of things. And when you are in a situation which we did not appreciate coming into it or at the time, you have as many weaknesses as you have, the cracks are really big, and a lot can slip through the cracks from any administration, from any regime, and a lot slipped through the cracks last year. My hope or expectation is those cracks are getting really small now, or at least they're appreciably smaller than they were last year. And so mistakes that are going to be made in terms of game flow, game decisions, play clock management, you name it, are going to be smaller and fewer and far between. Honestly, how many times is a Bob Stoops or a Barry Switzer, to pick out two examples that we have to always compare our current coaching to, or even a Lincoln Riley, how many times are they really in a critical game time decision? Lincoln Riley, where play clock matters. Lincoln Riley by far the most, and he failed a lot. When you have the luxury of being great and you're beating everybody as badly as you're beating them, as Stoops was many, many times, as Switzer was many, many times, you just don't test the coach's ability to do those have that decision making at the point where it's critical.
Well, and winning cures all.
Kicked the Tyreek Hill twice.
Right, and so you look at examples like that,
Yeah.
or you look at examples when even in either case when we were having down years and a lot of stuff was going wrong, and a lot of stuff goes wrong. Like Nick Saban doesn't get into a lot of situations where he is putting himself in a position to make mistakes because he's so good and everything else is running so good. But put him in the same position, he probably doesn't have the absolute fighter pilot-like skills to exactly navigate what he should be doing with precision in every absolute instance. He probably finds himself like he did in that Sugar Bowl, screaming into his headset while his quarterback is getting completely demolished by the defensive line of Oklahoma, and he's doesn't deer in headlights. He doesn't know what to do.
Or you try to kick a 65-yard field goal against Auburn.
Against Auburn. And so anyone can do it.
Everybody has their cases.
So my point of view is
or
maybe
not hand it to Derrick Henry 35 more times in that game.
Yeah. How hard is this? So my point of view is, as I look at things to watch for and expect in 2023, I think those cracks are getting a lot smaller, and we're going to see, and we should see, fewer and fewer critical mistakes. Fewer opportunities to get so worked up because, oh my God, you cannot be this stupid. Because we're sitting back there with the luxury of no pressure saying, come on, obviously run the clock, obviously do this, obviously run this play. And they're having to come up with all of that at the same time.
Well, I hope the more we get through this season, or maybe even it's more of a complete retrospect after the season, is looking back into that first year and saying, okay, this really was what we were maybe assuming or hoping, and it was Venables and the staff trying to implement a system without breaking the molds and without, sacrificing any sort of their methodology, and saying, if it doesn't work, we're still going to do it this way because this is how we want to operate
for the future.
So
I bet there's probably a few games last year that we probably would have won if they had
adapted.
Deviated from what they were wanting to do.
Oh yeah, I agree.
But does that hurt you
long term?
Right.
That's the trade-off that hopefully they chose correctly on. But I'd like to hope that that's exactly what happened. In fact, I think that's the gamble they made over and over again. I mean, as they just hard-headedly started to implement a defensive scheme that we obviously were in no position to actually execute, you had to think they're thinking, the hell with this season. We think we can win, and by God, this is where we're headed, so we need to get there as soon as we can, not try it. And I can see that. You can say, well, if you're a lesser team would say, do whatever you can to get to 9 wins this year, and then next year you do whatever you can to get to 9 wins. If it means throw the whole playbook out and do something completely different, that's what you do. And you'll get to those 9 wins, and you'll never get past 9 wins.
And it's still not an excuse for not winning more games than we did last year.
Absolutely.
But I do think they stubbornly, or rightfully so, or looking ahead, did choose to run what they run, albeit what happens.
To our detriment, like West Virginia.
To our detriment, yeah, in many cases. Well, and to all of those points you're alluding to, my things to watch or expect in 2023, defense, capital, all caps, must improve greatly. And not just improve greatly. Must be so much better. If they are, and I think they have a great chance of being a lot better. I mean, if they can go from 70th ranked to 35th ranked, we're a damn good football team.
Yeah, I think the jump from year 1 to year 2 should be substantial
On defense?
on defense. I also think they, and all of us too, maybe the coaches didn't. Maybe I'll just speak for myself. I thought it would probably be easier to implement
I did.
a standard defense of
I did.
you've got athletes, this is how you play, this is what you do. And I have a feeling, it's just my own opinion, that when the coaches got here and got in there and saw it all, if you could have a truth serum, I think they knew they were in trouble.
Yeah.
Just from a player personnel, athleticism,
Well, that's what they're
speed,
saying now.
strength.
In retrospect,
You hear a couple of things about, like,
we only had
our
two,
linebackers
we had
didn't
two
even know
guys
how
who
to be
could play
linebackers.
yeah.
I mean, they didn't even know.
I think they thought that, and then I think they got to the Nebraska game. Or like, okay, maybe
they may have drank the Kool-Aid too.
Maybe something is happening here, and then next week you get gut checked against a good Kansas State football team, and it's like, all right, like it's.
But that's a good team, and we were in that game. It was a winnable game.
We were in every game
And
except
we were in
for
every
two.
game except for
two. For TCU and Texas.
Yeah, and I don't know. For a while, we're in TCU, and Texas is like it doesn't even count. It's weird.
Right. So I mean, it's such a weird
Yeah.
thing to look back on, but
They
I mean,
might have like all of us drank a lot of Kool-Aid in that Nebraska game and thought we could do something.
that no one is saying we can do.
Yeah. Or that
Or we didn't even
or
expect
that we
to
didn't
do.
expect. We being the coaches, they're
Right.
thinking we didn't expect we could do this, but maybe we can pull it off because we knew Nebraska wasn't good, but we didn't know it was going to be that bad. And maybe honestly that just we got lucky because it's Nebraska and where their minds are right now or were at the time. We've been in that situation back in the John Blake years where it doesn't matter how good you actually are. You're just waiting for the inevitable, which is when you're going to implode. And everybody on the team just checks out and says, yep, we are awful,
Yep.
and this game is over.
They get on the other ship.
Exactly. And so we may have been the victims of a situation where we walked into somebody who basically checked out at halftime. And we thought we were that dominant. No, we were just playing a scrimmage at that point. I don't know. Could be. I think the offense should improve, but I think it'll be incremental. The offense was pretty darn good last year. I think that we'll see small improvements, and small improvements go a long way. I mean, small improvements win a few football games last year, even with the defense that we saw.
Yeah, I think with the offense, an improvement doesn't even have to be more points per game or more yards per game, as much as it is sustained drives, field position,
Game management.
clock management. 3 and outs that take 40 seconds off the clock and put your defense right back out on the field.
Yep.
Just a couple of extra first downs.
Yeah, get some yardage.
15,
Flip the
20 more
field.
yards, change change the field position can be drastically an improvement on your offense. Like I said, even if the points per game doesn't change, right? It
Right.
stays
This
the
year with
same.
the clock not stopping on first downs, maybe we'll have less time to screw ourselves over.
You're very true.
Like for real.
Very true. Very, very true.
Yeah, it'll actually help
Instead-
us kill
yeah.
more time on
Ins-
accident.
Instead of a 3 and out, if we just get that the 2nd and 6, and then you pick up that first down instead of the clock stopping and us running a hurry up, the clock's going to be running, and then we run a hurry up. So maybe there's 10 less seconds on the clock, and that gives the defense a little bit more
Which
rest.
emphasizes Steve's first point of the defense must all caps improve, because we could be on the wrong end of that where teams are trying to slow the game down against us after getting
And
a
we're
lead,
running out of clock
or
fast.
after and we're not getting off the field when we're supposed to in that situational football type of mentality where we're not getting off the field in 3rd and 4th down.
Well, that's where the aggression comes in.
Yeah, so I mean it's
You just go
full circle.
balls out and try to create havoc, and if they throw a 40-yard touchdown on you, at least you get the ball back.
Yeah, and I do want to see more.
Something.
I do want to see more selling out up front with if we have the guys that we think we have, right? I mean, there's no excuse to not be, like you just said, aggressive in those situations. And if it comes back and bites you, at least you have a chance to respond to it. We got in so many situations last year where it's almost like, hey, we're on the back foot, and we're going to stay on the back foot and try to make this work.
Yeah.
Whereas, like you just said, if they go and score, hey, at least we get the ball back. I mean, I remember us yelling at the TV
put us in a position to either disrupt and cause something that's very advantageous for us, or, like you're saying, give up the points and let's move on down the road and let's get our chance at it. Where we were in this weird in-between that is not a comfortable place to be, which might have been us opting for, this is what we're trying to establish, we're going to work these guys, and we're going to make them, by hook or by crook, learn this is exactly the defense you're going to be running going forward. Learn how to do it, struggle through it, and I'm sure as they look back and they think, man, why didn't I change up just a little bit to give myself a chance to win that game?
Yeah.
But it's hard to make that decision on the fly. Well, we've been talking about offense a little bit with this and improvements, and we talked about utilizing tight end and other types of things. So let's just get to a prediction. Will Jeff Lebby be at OU come January 1, 2024? I say yes. That would include if he takes another job.
I say yes as well. And I think as well, I think of it more in the lens of he's not getting fired. He may have job offers, and he chooses not to take a job offer, and he stays.
What do you guys think?
Yep.
And maybe this is go ahead.
That's where I fall with what Connor just said.
Okay. Jay, you're saying?
I'll say yes, and I'll say, gosh, even though I wasn't that happy with him last year, I'll take a different viewpoint of it. You know, I don't know per se that Jackson Arnold is just an OU guy, or is he a Lebby guy? Is he a Venables guy?
The longer he's here, the more likely he's an OU guy.
Right.
And Venables.
But, I mean, if Lebby left for a decent school, let's just say OU's offense really does tear it up, and everyone looks at last year as kind of an aberration in his record or whatever, and he gets a mid-tier SEC job. I don't know, what if Missouri comes up?
I don't think he gets a Power 5 job.
You don't think he can get Missouri or something?
No.
So I don't think Jackson Arnold follows him to a group of 5 type of school.
No, but I said, what about Missouri?
But if he got a Missouri type job, I don't know. I think at the same time
I say
at
no.
that point,
That's a big jump for Jeff
because
Lebby
I
to
also
make.
think
well, no, I'm just thinking from the Jackson Arnold standpoint. I don't think Jackson Arnold makes that move.
I think
mean,
if that vacancy happens, or a vacancy from an OU offensive coordinator perspective, we're going to bring in I do still think OU is a destination job.
We're going to hire a
for an
big
offensive
time
coordinator.
They're going after Garrett Riley, aren't you?
Well, it'd be a name. You're not going to go for some complete unknown. So I think that we're going to have a pretty strong package to offer, a bird in the hand, versus you're going to say to Jackson Arnold, all right, you want to go play the comm at obviously a challenged program with him as a first-year coach. I just don't see that happening. I'm actually a strong yes. I think we're going to have plenty of offensive success this coming year. I don't think Jeff Lebby's job will be in question at all. And I don't think it is likely he makes a jump because I don't think he's going to take a lesser job. I think he's going to be one of these guys that he's not going to leave until a premier job opens.
The guy does not strike me as at least right now in his career, which again, job offers say otherwise and speculation says otherwise, doesn't strike me as a place to be a head coach at this point either. At least at a big school, a big name school.
Yeah,
so
that'd be a big jump. Yeah,
maybe if he wants to go to a UCF or God forbid an Oklahoma State when Mike Gundy decides to step down after the season,
Like I said,
after
I don't think
going
he's a Power 5 guy. Brought from that.
2-10.
If you look at Mike Stoops, I mean, he went to Arizona, but he was established. I mean, he was here for
But
while,
that's a
pedigree.
weak Power 5
Right.
as well.
Kevin Wilson went to Indiana. That's a Power 5.
Weak
but
Power
it's not,
5.
It's not a major job.
And he
Chuck
could-
Long went to San Diego State. Heupel, where did Heupel go when he got
He
fired?
could really-
Utah State?
He could
Arkansas
really
State.
raise his
Arkansas
value.
State.
It was Utah State.
Utah State as a coordinator.
Yeah.
again.
Yeah, coordinator.
And
Yeah.
he
He
went
could
to Missouri, I
really
think.
raise his value too with like 2 seasons with Jackson
Absolutely.
Arnold in the
He's
SEC.
smart.
Yeah.
His agent's smart. He's saying, wait a second. You could be writing literally conference titles and playoff contention or being a playoff team, if not a championship team, national championship team, into the job of your choosing.
Yeah.
Because then think of the jobs that might be open over the course of the next 3 years. You could be talking USC. You could be talking Penn State. You could be talking a lot of places that you're saying, now that is where you settle for. You settle for the premier top jobs in the country.
Yeah,
And he's
because
in a position.
taking those low to mid Power 5 jobs nowadays is completely different than what it was back then as well. With
the realignment for
Yes.
sure. Yeah.
with realignment,
yes.
but also with you're at a massive disadvantage recruiting now with
Yep.
NIL and everything
How are
else.
you going to get good?
You're not. Yeah, exactly. A lot of those coaches, I think Mike Stoops and Kevin Wilson are really good examples of. I think they went somewhere and like, hey, I can build on this and I can build a program from where it's at to a USC or to a Michigan State if you're Kevin Wilson. Those things aren't happening anymore.
And they didn't happen for them.
And they didn't happen for them.
And they
even
didn't happen
back
for
then.
countless others
So-
that aren't OU former assistants.
And
that
even
just-
a sustained success.
right.
You may have 1 or 2 years here and there where you're like, oh man, this is working. This is how it's going to be. You're not going to sustain that success over a long run.
But you could be a guy like Fickle, where you leave Ohio State and take a Cincinnati, and then build them
I don't know if
into
you can do that anymore.
a really good program.
Maybe.
And then it opens a Wisconsin job.
He is
Maybe,
he
but
is an
that's
exception
really
who has
hard.
done that. Yeah, exactly. And
It's harder today than it
very
was for
different.
him.
Bob Stoops did it.
The Florida State.
He went from Kansas State to Florida as a coordinator.
But
and then-
Florida is a
then
bigger
took the big
program
job.
than any of those others. I mean, Florida is a big program
Yeah,
that
I
he stepped
agree.
into. And, yeah, so I don't think that's comparable because that's a big step and a big step.
Well, yeah,
So-
but Levy went from Ole Miss to OU,
Right.
so he could.
Yes.
The next step could be.
Yes, a big one. He's going. That's why I think it'd
could
be
be
a step
South Carolina
back to go
or,
to Oklahoma State
Georgia
or
Georgia
Boise
Tech or something.
or name a program that would probably.
He wouldn't go to an
love to have
an
him.
OU level caliber team as a head coach, in my opinion.
Well,
I
OU's like a top.
But that's what I'm saying. That's why I can't
5-10
compare the
job.
two. Is
He
Bob
might
Stoops
after
went from
3
coordinator to
years.
coordinator, and his first head coaching job
Right.
was at Oklahoma.
Yeah.
So
Right.
I don't see Levy going from
Which was a
Ole
rebuild.
Miss to OU
Which is a
to.
down Oklahoma.
Oh, I think he could.
But it's still a premier job.
I think I'd see him in
Lincoln
3
Riley did
years
it.
do it.
Well,
I think I could see him do it in 3 years. And Lincoln Riley was handed the job.
He was handed the job.
I think
yeah. With time,
With
exactly.
time and
not
with
not
the
after
pedigree.
year 2
with
at
no,
OU.
no, a huge pedigree. Unless
That's what
like
I'm-
something crazy
Okay, I
happens.
get
That's
what
what
you're
I'm saying.
saying.
He's
Okay.
not the guy that's going to go one. If we had a 11-1 season and the offense looks really good,
Say we go national champion 15-0. To be extreme.
I would never say that.
To be extreme.
To the extreme.
He's still going to be pressed. Maybe only in that scenario, if the job opens up, would he go to a premier job?
Yeah.
There's no way he's going to leave. I mean, I don't know. There's no way. There's a way. I don't know why in the world he would think, I want to leave where I am to go take the job at,
Arizona State.
name a Big 12 school, period.
Yeah, I just did.
Going forward. I mean, any of them.
Arizona State.
Well, even take
Any
it
of
to
them.
the next extreme. Let's say a premier job opens up. Is it something? Well, I guess anybody be interested. And maybe this is more of a different question. Are there any premier programs right now that there's a coach on the hot seat?
Notre Dame?
Notre Dame maybe on the hot seat a little bit. Texas A&M
Yeah,
I
but
think-
even with a really good season, I don't think Levy is in the top 5
Agreed.
of that group.
of
yeah,
coordinate
exactly.
people.
And that's what I'm trying to
like
get
they're
to.
going to go after
You're
Garrett
right.
Riley first.
You're
they're
right.
going to go after Georgia's defensive coordinator
Or
first.
another
They're-
head coach
you know,
somewhere
They're going
else.
to do
Yeah.
that before they
100%.
before they
For
go
sure.
after him. I think
And if you're looking at
a
like
major program.
the Luke Fickell situation, I don't know, in the scheme of it, I guess you'd have to look at the fact that Wisconsin is a bigger program that had probably a bigger payday associated with it. If you looked at it just from the standpoint of how many seats does the stadium hold, it's significantly greater than Cincinnati. But is his ability to win in Wisconsin in the Big Ten better or worse than his ability to win in the Big 12 at Cincinnati? I'm not sure.
And that's what I'm wondering is so
when he left, that was Cincinnati already announced?
No, they were not.
No, they had not.
They were not, and that's what I'm wondering is if he's. You don't look. I don't know. I think if you're looking in that lens that you just mentioned, Steve, and you were saying where is my best opportunity to go win football games, I absolutely think staying at Cincinnati is the answer. I don't think that
your longevity is longer at Cincinnati, or their tolerance for loss is bigger at Cincinnati too.
Luke Fickell more than likely could have retired at Cincinnati as their legendary coach that they build a statue for.
As their Hayden Fry.
As their Gary Patterson of TCU type of thing. I don't. It's interesting. I would love to be in a conversation or just inside some of these coaches' heads where it's like, would I rather go push to win 9 games in a Big Ten, or do I want to go to the Big 12 and compete for championships? Maybe
year in and year out.
Year in and year out. So it's I don't know. It's interesting for sure, and it's so funny to look back. And I know we don't like talking about it here, but looking at Lincoln Riley, and I would love to know what he's thinking. Going into the Big Ten.
I think it's so sweet
to go get his face mashed in by most of that conference, a lot of the conference, maybe not most of them.
Well, supposedly too, there was a little bit of a, hey, we're not going to take Oregon if you guys choose to come to the Big Ten, and then all of a sudden,
because his big thing is he wanted to maximize the West Coast recruiting, right? So
no, but from that same standpoint, if I'm Lincoln Riley, as after all those cards have been dealt, and we're at where we were a few weeks ago, I probably want the Oregon-Washington connection, because if I'm looking at it strategically or tactically, I'm thinking, you know what, I want to be on a West Coast pod where I can dominate potentially the West Coast, that time zone. I can maximize my recruiting options here, and I don't have to travel that much. Yeah. Those are 2 big travel destinations taken off of the calendar, where you are now, I guess one would be a home, one would be an away, where you're saying, no, we don't have to go to Rutgers or even Michigan, just to think about the distance, versus I can just go up the coast in the same time zone. That's a big difference.
And I don't have to play Utah, who smashes my face.
And don't have to play Utah. So I think it's probably to their benefit that Oregon and Washington are there.
I don't think he's going to coach in the Big Ten.
But and that's...
Really?
That's
a hot take.
There's a hot take.
That's a hot take right there.
I think Lincoln Riley has a good season at USC this year. They go 10-2, 11-1, whatever it ends up being, if Caleb Williams stays healthy. The Dallas Cowboys go 10-7, 11-6, whatever. Either don't make the playoffs or
lose in the
first round. Mike McCarthy's gone. Jerry brings in Lincoln Riley. I think that's been his plan all along.
So you think whose plan?
Lincoln's.
Well,
to get to the NFL.
I think maybe his aspirations are the NFL. We know his dream job. He said his dream job is the Dallas Cowboys. But to think that that's the end game, you got to get there, and things got to fall in your lap. Like, lots of dominoes have to fall that you don't control.
He had a program fall in his lap. It's the best program since World War II.
Yeah, and so his thought process is, well, I've gotten crazy-ass lucky and won the lottery once. I must be good at lotteries, so I'm going to go ahead and do this again. I don't think so.
There's your hot take.
I like the hot take. And it's not – I'm not going to say it's not possible at all, or that he wouldn't take it. I will take the bet. I will be on the other side of that bet that he will coach Big Ten games, because I think that's the safe bet.
I think I'm with Steve. I think he coaches maybe 1-2 seasons of the Big Ten, realizes he is experiencing his biggest fear that he had at OU with moving to the SEC, and it's not just an OU thing. It's a Lincoln Riley problem, and he gets out before he gets exposed as it being a Lincoln Riley problem.
Where does he get out to? It's not like he can just call someone up and say, Robert Kraft, I want to be your head coach.
Right, but that's what I'm saying. That's an interesting thing is if he starts seeing that go sour after year 1 in the Big Ten, I think he tries to get out fast.
He might. He might start really spinning.
Matt Campbell's a great example of someone who has screwed themselves out of money and a better job because he decided to stay, quote unquote, loyal to his way at Iowa State and thought that he could do something that he was never going to be able to do at that school.
We've seen the NFL make stupid hiring decisions out of college, though. Kingsbury, he couldn't win at Tech, and they bring him into an NFL squad. Bobby Petrino.
Nick Saban.
Won at Louisville, then he went to, where was it, Atlanta?
Oh, yeah, tons of them.
Pete Carroll's initial stint
Yeah, he
NFL.
started in the NFL, then went
Well, you don't
college,
have
went
to-
back to the
yeah.
NFL.
And all the
successful.
guys you're not thinking of because they washed out so
Exactly.
fast that
I mean, hell, Nick Saban washed out
no,
the NFL.
absolutely,
Spurrier,
absolutely
Chip
it's
Kelly.
possible.
Chip
Yeah.
Kelly.
But
I mean, it's just
there's
one after
only
another.
32 teams. It's
But-
not like there's a job just to be had.
So is my hot take not correct if he doesn't go to Dallas, but if he takes another NFL job?
No, I'll give you.
You
I'll,
get-
I'll
you
give
get
you
a
any
partial
NFL job.
hot
I'll get a
take.
partial hot take.
Yeah, either way, you'll get the
If he
correct
goes to
hot
the
take.
Chargers or something.
Absolutely.
Because that's a club
If he
I
doesn't
can
coach,
see, because that guy's a weirdo.
and he'd be in the
L.A. he'd still be in
LA, he'd
yep.
he'd stay in his
He could
home
stay in his
house
house,
and
yeah.
do all that. I mean,
USC's
me.
paying for that house.
Oh, that's
yeah,
true.
He's got to move. But
Yeah,
I
Well,
think he can afford to.
they'd
But
probably,
he-
they'd
but he
probably
had to
want him
move-
to buy it from him
He had to
because they'd
move
probably
because
be
his
hard
family
up for
wanted
it.
to be on the beach.
Right.
Wanted to see the beach.
So I don't put it past him by any means.
So I get 3/4
I'm
of a hot
saying
take
the-
if he ends up
I'm thinking half.
in the NFL.
3/4 maybe. Okay.
Okay.
after this season, if
So-
he ends up in the, I'll give you a full
Yes.
hot take if he ends up in the NFL after this
All right.
season.
After this season, yeah,
after
yeah,
the season.
I'll give you a full hot take.
yeah. That's the full hot take. Even if it's not the Cowboys, if it's
Okay.
Cowboys, that's bonus points.
I
Yeah.
think it depends if he
Cowboys,
thinks
that's breakfast at
Malachi
at
Nelson
wherever we're going.
Yeah,
can
there you go.
continue the legacy of elite quarterback play. I think he knows he won't have Caleb, and if he doesn't have a quarterback on the roster next year heading to the Big Ten, I think he'll bounce.
I mean, he's got. A
I don't
quarterback.
think he won't necessarily bounce, but keep in mind he has to have a place to land, right?
I
gotta
think
have-
there's
he's
a
gotta
place
have
in
the
NFL
offer.
for him. I think
Maybe.
Lincoln Riley is on a short list of any opening for NFL.
But has
What-
anybody?
what if
have
he-
we heard anybody offering him that job yet, though?
Ever. In
I have not
7
heard
years?
any sort of offer that's come to
What,
fruition.
what if wherever Caleb goes, Lincoln goes? That's a real possibility.
That is probably a
Whoever
pretty
the worst
good
NFL
possibility
team is this
they'd be
year.
probably looking for a new coach as well.
I don't know
Yeah.
who the worst NFL team is. Look, Arizona Cardinals.
Well, you never
probably.
know who it's going to be, but yes,
How crazy would that be?
very crazy.
They draft Caleb. Well, no, they signed too much for Kyler.
yeah,
I don't
but-
think
Oh
they-
no, the Mocks have Arizona.
I've seen a
They
projection
get
with
2 of the
Caleb
first
Williams.
3 picks.
Well,
right?
where was Kingsbury before he
Arizona?
took the Arizona job?
Texas Tech.
No,
Texas Tech. Oh, he went to USC.
Oh, he's USC.
USC.
Well,
But
he
yeah.
never
coached the
coached.
game.
right.
Yeah.
So it, like in the weirdness, like yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. He follows that.
Kingsbury's
whole,
And he's
back
back,
at
on
USC.
USC.
yeah, they flip.
So
They
maybe
flip coaches.
Lincoln
What is he
can
doing
take
there?
him
Is he-
back to
QB coach.
Arizona
Oh my God.
and be his offensive coordinator.
Oh, is his OC?
No, he's an.
Oh,
analyst.
you're talking about. Okay. Yeah, yeah.
So I think
Lincoln's not going to have an OC.
I think there's possibilities there, but I would argue that, and this is going to be, well, I mean, you're getting into some of my hot takes that you want me to save till next week, but I got a hot take on Lincoln Riley and USC next year. So just remind me to bring that up.
Yeah, because last year
Because
you were,
it's
you were
not-
so right
I,
with your
I was not
8
that
wins or whatever you had.
I was not that far off.
They went over 10.
I was not that far off. They
They
got
went 10 or 11 last
They
year.
They
got
won 10.
They got 10, and they got crazy
Who
ass
did they lose
lucky.
to besides Utah?
Tulane.
No,
No, in the
Regular
regular
season.
season. They didn't. They
Oh.
were 11-1.
They lost to Utah twice.
they were 11-1 in the regular season.
Yeah.
and then lost to Utah. The
Yeah.
second. Yeah,
Yeah, they very nearly weren't by a long shot.
yeah.
So no, I got good. That's why
like
that's how hot my
Mark
take is. Mark it down. So
Was that the
Let's-
breakfast bet last year? That was.
it was.
It was.
Let's refocus to games we're excited about or nervous about, because I've got 3 that I want to talk about, and I want your takes on them and anything else you got. And these are just OU games. So Texas, the question is, can we avenge last year's debacle? And that would mean, obviously, being highly competitive in that game. I'm going to say, and I don't think this is a hot take, we are going to be competitive in that game. I think I'm not drinking the Texas Kool-Aid. I may be drinking the OU Kool-Aid, but I don't understand the Texas
Are
Kool-Aid.
you excited or nervous about it?
I am both excited and nervous. I'm always nervous about the OU Texas game, but I am kind of chomping at the bit to get to give our best shot at those sons of bitches, because they didn't get but our worst shot last year, and they act like they beat us circa 2017, 1985, you name a year when we were great. They act like 49-0 was against that team, and it wasn't. That was ridiculous. So they were 8-5 last year, and they barely were 8-5. We were 6-7, and we were on the other side of barely 6-7. We had a chance to easily win 9 games. So I think that Texas is drinking a Kool-Aid well beyond anything that an OU fan is drinking right now in terms of
Well, the national
Overall
media,
competitive.
national media
Yeah,
is
but they're
pumping it
always
up, too.
back.
Air back, baby.
I've seen CBS Sports had 2 of their 3 guys have them in the playoff.
Yep.
Barstool, Unnecessary Roughness picked Texas to win across the board the Big 12 title, which those people don't freaking
Yeah, I got
watch.
into a little Twitter battle with Brandon Walker.
That was awesome.
What did he call me?
He called you...
Or what did he call? He said,
Moron?
No, it
idiot
was...
OU fans, or what did he say?
It was very derogatory. Pull it up. See if you can pull it up. He was. So what did you say?
We offered him a spot on the pod. We didn't get a response.
Yeah, he didn't respond.
What did he call you? He called you.
He called something about OU fans in general.
Yeah, he generalized using you as an example.
I think if, and this might seem strange, I think if Texas
Called you a dipshit.
goes in,
He called OU fans dipshits.
No. He called you a dipshit.
No, on the original.
Okay, but he said whatever, dipshit, and directed at you.
Because I said he was scared to talk to. This was their take was, he said the words Nebraska dominated the Big 12.
Right.
Were the words he used.
Mm-hmm.
And I said I must have missed the era that Nebraska dominated the Big 12. 2 titles in 97-99 is quote domination now. Wonder what 14 for OU is called then. And then he said no fan base is more sensitive in America than dipshit OU fans. Talk good about somebody else and they'll come running. And I said, I'm not sensitive at all. Your narrative on this is just garbage. I agree completely Nebraska would be a better fit in the Big 12, or they should have never left. But saying they dominated the conference is just uninformed. He said,
You're the entire reason he picked OU to be his disappointing team this season.
He said, hey, you guys used to be good too. And I said, also, I don't know why the guy, which you'd have to know Barstool to know, he got in an argument with another guy at Barstool, and he called him the moron from Mississippi, and they got into a shoving match in the hallways of the office. And he got suspended, and they were debating firing him over the deal and all that. And I said, I don't know why the guy that lost his cool over being called a moron from Mississippi immediately calls an intelligent OU fan response to your take as being a dipshit instead of inviting constructive conversation about your opinion. And he said, whatever, dipshit.
I like how...
And then I invited him on the pod.
You absolutely, and we would love to have him on the pod. Absolutely. You owned his ass. And that was like a drunk man arguing with someone totally sober who had time to sit back and think about it. And
who's
you
a
were
Rhodes
firing
Scholar.
back at him. Yeah, exactly. That was beauty.
Yeah.
That was awesome. And you're right. You're just, everything you said was
If he would have
correct
just said,
and reasonable.
if he would have just said Nebraska should have never left the Big 12 because they were better in that conference.
Right.
They belong more in that
Yeah,
conference.
to say
than the
dominated?
Big 10, then I would have been like, you're right.
We obviously didn't know what the hell he was
But
talking
to
about.
say they dominated the Big 12 was completely
He
unrealistic.
missed a decade. He was thinking that he was
Decade and a
thinking of the
half.
90s, and he had completely forgotten about from 2002 on.
Yeah.
And they had
Well, when they won their
basically-
titles, they were there at the Big 8.
right. Well,
well, they had to
yes.
win in 01.
Well, they beat
94,
they beat
95.
they beat Texas,
Eric Crouch had to win it.
and Eric Crouch won it. And no, they didn't.
No, they didn't win.
They didn't win it. Colorado beat them.
That was 01. They didn't win.
Or
They won Big 12 titles in 97 and 99.
Colorado beat Texas, and they backdoored their way into the national championship. Nebraska did.
Huh.
And they were a very, very, very good team that year, and that was
That
the
was
last
Ndamukong
time they were a
Suh.
good team. Ndamukong Suh was
Oh, no,
2012
that was-
when we beat them in the
That
or
was
no
2009.
That was
2009,
2009.
and then 2012 the very last time that they were in the conference, and we and
2010.
Landry Jones
2010.
2010 and we beat them in the conference title.
But when they won their national titles, that was the Big 8.
Yes, 1997,
Or 94, 95, wasn't it?
94, 95,
Or was it 97?
and I think it was 97.
Because the Big 12 started in 96. I think.
96, that's right. We'll look back and see somebody.
Maybe 97.
Tommy Frazier
slept a couple times
and
since then.
destroying Florida. That was an absolute. That was 95.
I was thinking that was 95.
Yeah, it was 95.
Yeah.
I think they won back. Did they win back to back?
yeah,
94,
Michigan won in
95?
97.
Yeah, so they didn't win a national title when they were in the Big 12.
in the Big 12,
And they only won 2 conference titles
Yep.
in 14 seasons or whatever they were.
Yeah.
And we won 14 titles in 27 seasons.
Well, and they didn't. If you just look at the period of overlap there,
Yeah.
we played for and won more than they did.
Yeah.
We beat them more than they beat us. Just it's a guy who's getting his history all mixed
But
up.
it's also a guy that works for a company that makes their money in engagements, and
Right.
they know that the OU fan base is the strongest college football fan base on the internet,
Right.
and that they can get it's the same shit Colin Cowherd
Yep.
does,
Oh, yeah.
same shit Paul Feinbaum does.
Yep.
They're trying to get
They're goading you.
us revved
But
up.
what's funny is
and I wasn't revved up.
You weren't
I
revved
was
up. You were
just-
just factual.
Yeah. I
And
was
he was
pointing out
revved
what
up.
he was wrong.
He was using vulgar language, name calling,
Yeah.
didn't have facts,
To deflect.
and totally to deflect.
but to
So-
also get engagement.
Yeah, absolutely.
So.
And so maybe that's what we need to do.
All right, back to OU Texas.
All right.
They won in 97 and 99 in the Big 12.
Yes.
Yeah.
But
What do
I
you-
was talking about national championships like 94, 95.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts on
97,
this?
And that was
yeah.
Big 8.
What's your thoughts on this? Do we have a better chance of beating Texas if they win at Alabama or lose at Alabama?
Gosh. Okay. So I will say we have a better chance if they lose at Alabama from two respects. One, it means they're a lesser team, which is kind of a cop-out, but it's true. And the other is if they lose, they may be in some complete turmoil as to who their quarterback should be.
Okay.
Now, I think the opposite side, if you were going to create a narrative there, you'd say you want them riding so high with overconfidence that they don't think they can be beaten. And we get to come in, play in the underdog status, and we have better, basically in-week preparation than they do. And we're a very competitive football team, and we beat them. But I'm going to say, if it's just from that standpoint, I think it's more likely we beat them if they lose to Alabama. Which may be answering two different questions.
What do you think, Connor?
Ask the question one more time. Apologize.
Do
I
we
was
have
looking at Nebraska.
does OU have a better chance of beating Texas if Texas beats Alabama or loses to Alabama?
I'm going to say loses. Just because, I mean, I don't know. If Texas beats Alabama, I will. I'm not going to jump on the Texas national championship bus immediately, but it's not going to be by some fluke or some accident, I don't think.
But see, for me, that's the
reason we can hit them in the mouth.
That's the reason I think the national narrative around Texas, if they stroll into Tuscaloosa and win, Texas isn't the type of team that can handle that. They will be so inflated with their ego.
You think they'll check out?
I don't even know if it's
Of
just check. I just don't
preparation.
think they can handle it. I don't think they can handle it. I
Well, what
think
does
the
that
worst
mean?
case, the hype.
Yeah, but I mean, what does not handling it mean? It's got to be the preparation,
Yeah,
right?
it's preparation. It's the partying.
Yeah.
It's everyone telling them how good they are.
Now
it's all
they
week
play
long in
us.
class.
They play
and
Alabama 2 weeks before they
and-
play OU. Is that right?
I'm not sure.
Something like that.
Everywhere around town,
weeks.
everyone's just
3
crowned. They're
weeks.
getting. They're going to crown, right?
And and
they'll
the rest,
be crowned.
It's cakewalk.
2 weeks into the season.
It's cakewalk for them, aside from Alabama, right?
No, I don't think they have a hard schedule.
No, they have. Do they play K-State right before us, or TCU, or look that up?
They have their
Um,
schedule is much tougher than ours.
No, I know it is, and leading into the OU Texas game, it could be, which ours is not. We should walk in. So to your point, if you will,
We should be 5-0.
I'm worried that we walk in 5-0 and we're drinking the Kool-Aid like after Nebraska. And
I don't think
we
you
have a
can
problem.
win last year's 49-0.
I would hope not.
Texas plays Baylor and Kansas before us.
Well, all right, 2 tough games
Kansas directly before us.
at Kansas or
No, it's home.
home.
At
Well,
Baylor, though, right?
But
Mm-hmm.
remind me, the last time Kansas beat Texas, was that in Austin? That was in Austin.
I think it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, where that third string tight end
That's
caught
right.
a touchdown or whatever.
So they could be in a couple of semi-dogfights there. That's a trap type of game against K-State with OU Texas lingering.
I think the worst thing is if Texas outplays Alabama and loses a game that they shouldn't have lost.
Which is like last year to
Yeah.
a degree.
That
I mean,
game is
basically,
I
just
it's like
think
so.
that's
That
the
game
worst.
It
is
was last
so.
year. It
That
was
game
last
is
year.
just so. And I'm with Steve. And maybe back to the topic at hand. I am as well, very excited for that game. Assuming we're fully healthy. Always nervous for that game. Last year was just such a fluke, and it's something that they're going to hang their hat on just because of the scoreline, and I understand that. We fielded a junior varsity level team out there, it felt like, with a junior varsity level game plan. I think fully healthy teams going head-to-head, that game has potential to be one of the most exciting OU Texas games in terms of just competitiveness that we've seen in a long time, with the level of talent on both sides of the ball, with the level of coaching on both sides of the ball. It has a really, really high chance of being a great one, a classic. At the same time, I say that game can turn on its head the first play that we've seen. So I'm with Steve on that. Excited because I want to redeem myself. I want to redeem the team and my fandom. Tired of seeing 49-0 all over my timelines as well. But nervous just because it's Texas, right? That game has so many unknowns to it that come into play.
What do you think, Lucas? Easier or harder if Texas wins or loses against Alabama?
It really depends on what the loss total would be. Like, if they lose a heartbreaker to Bama, I feel like they'll be decimated and it'll be tougher for them to recover and get up for us. But if they get blown out, I don't know.
So I'd say if they get blown out, I'm not really worried because they just aren't that good of a team. Is the problem with that.
What if Bama's back?
Bama never kind of wasn't back, but yeah,
right.
Back.
They don't know their quarterback yet.
But and there's a lot of question marks with Alabama. So I don't know. It's funny when you were saying that, Connor, and it really ties into everything you're saying. I'm gonna have a homer take that it's got a lot of rhyming with the 2000 and the early 2000s, where the country club set of Texas, great recruiting classes, lots of high expectations, where they could be their own worst enemy. And we, in 2000 in particular, completely snuck up on them. They never saw that coming. And you talk about something that was just the most shocking game in the history of college football. That was one of them. That is way up there. That could happen to them this year with everything that's happened recently, with the 49-0, with where they're supposed to be in the national narrative. We're not in the picture. We're similarly ranked as we were that year coming into the season. And then you've got all those other years, and I'm not saying they're the same program that they were then, but aside from obviously different players and obviously different coaches, they're the same donor base. They're the same fan base. They're the same feeder system. They're the same Texas. They're the same expectation.
Sarkisian is a better coach than Herman and Charlie Strong.
He's not as good as
Mac Brown.
I agree.
His record doesn't say he's better than Herman.
That's right. They're even, right?
At best.
I think they were
and
just
I don't think
right
Herman
at even.
never lost any like fourth quarter leads. Like he had kind of good stats in a weird way.
Right.
Yeah, but they went. I mean, they didn't go to a bowl game.
No, but I think remember they were like
one or two of his
neck
years.
and neck.
Well,
Like
Sark did
at
either.
one point, Sark and him are neck and neck in their first years.
Yeah, but Sark went. They were 5-7 Sark's first season.
Yeah.
Then they go 8-5 last year, and all of a sudden now they're just exponentially better than everybody.
I was watching ESPNU. I think was doing their best games of 2022, and the Texas TCU was the final regular season match, and that was I think it was
pretty low scoring.
Nothing at halftime or 3-0 TCU.
We watched that game right here.
It was close, and
that game was crazy.
TCU took a lead of 17-3, and then there was a scoop and score for Texas early in the fourth quarter to make it middle of the fourth quarter to make it 17-10, and then it was a tight game there at the end, and TCU goes on to go to the national championship game and get blown out. But I mean, Texas looked better towards the end of the season.
They did.
I remember who they played in their bowl game. Does anybody remember?
They lost to Washington.
They lost to Washington.
Yeah.
So, who knows?
Who knows? But you would not, if you were to just watch and listen to everything that's being said about them, it's not the Georgia narrative, but it's not too far away from it. It's definitely the Alabama. Like, I would say that the narrative is Alabama and Texas are pretty neck and neck, which maybe they are. But last year they weren't.
We get to find out at least.
Even close.
They were Yeah, they were.
in one
They
game.
played each other?
Not for the season.
No,
not
not
even
for the season,
close.
no.
One of them
But
was at the
head-to-head.
top of college football and almost made the playoff.
Okay.
One was a joke.
This was Texas last year. They lost to Bama. They lost to Texas Tech.
What was the scores of their losses?
2019 Bama, 37-34 to Tech in overtime.
Okay, there's 2 losses that they could say that they
Close.
could have easily won.
Sure.
They
So
lost.
now they're at 10 and 4, or I mean 10 and
Well,
2.
no. Go through the losses.
They lost to Oklahoma State,
What was that score?
41-34.
Okay, a touchdown.
Let's see. They beat K-State. They beat TCU. They beat Kansas.
They didn't beat TCU.
Oh no, yeah, they lost to TCU. They beat
What was
They
that
beat
TCU final? 17-10?
17-10,
Okay, that's a touchdown.
and then they lost to Washington 27-20.
Tell me their wins.
That's a touchdown.
How close were their wins?
Blew out Louisiana Monroe. Blew out UTSA. They beat West Virginia 38-20. They beat us 49-0.
Nuh-uh.
They beat Iowa State 24-21.
Which should have lost to Iowa State.
Yeah,
Absolutely
dropped
should have lost
that,
to Iowa
yep.
State.
They beat Kansas State 34-27.
Close game as well.
They beat Kansas 55-14. They beat Baylor 38-27. Those
That's
are
a
wins.
marginal football team.
But their fans right now, they're doing their podcast, are just like we are, where we said we should have beaten West Virginia, we should have beaten Kansas State.
Yeah, but we didn't
But-
name a victory that we had that was that narrow.
But on theirs,
It was the other way. No, it was the other way.
yeah, I'm saying it's the other way. Like
They
they
should have lost to.
they
Yeah.
lost to
Yeah.
Tech in overtime. They lost to Bama by a point. They lost to
yeah, and they should have lost or could have lost several other games. I'm saying every game is within plus or minus a touchdown.
right. That's what
They're
I'm saying.
they're marginal.
They're saying they could have gone 11-1 last year.
We could have gone 11-1 by that logic, or 10-2.
Right. That's
Right.
what I'm saying.
So, but neither of us
why
did.
Is it not? Why does it work for us and not for them? Is what I'm saying.
Why does it work? What I'm saying is, why are they a national championship contender
Well, we're
out
ranked
of an
20.
8-5 record? Yeah, but
But going into this season, you've got a bunch of idiot pundits that are
no, I
that
know.
are saying they're a playoff
Well, yeah,
team.
they're idiots.
But
Exactly.
they're also only ranked. Were they 11 in the preseason poll?
No, I think they're like 14.
So they're 14 and we're 20. So
Are they only 14?
overall, even
No,
though
you're
there's
right.
a couple
Oh, wow,
pundits,
they are 11. Yeah, sorry.
Okay,
Yeah.
so they're 11 and
They're
we're 20,
11.
which isn't crazy far off.
Yeah, and you got guys picking them in the playoff,
Well,
and nobody's
you
even
got guys like
close
Joey
to us.
Galloway picking Baylor to win the national championship.
I'm not
when they
arguing that
win
we
4
should be
games.
in that position. I'm arguing there's no reason they should be at that lofty status. That you're taking a team that you're really betting the come on them to say things are going to come together for them, and they very well might.
and they're replacing
But-
a lot of defense
And their number one player,
and
Bijan.
Bijan.
Yeah, I'm not sticking up for Texas. I'm just saying I can see
Well, good,
where
because it sounds like it.
where some people would say they barely lost this game to Bama.
Absolutely.
They barely lost this game to
I think their
TCU.
record.
I agree.
I think their record is spot on because it looks like they had 2 wins.
That could have been losses and 2 losses that could
Right.
have been wins.
So I think
Yeah.
they're 8-5.
8-5, which is a crap schedule for a national
Because
contender.
as easily as they
I mean, we
should have
went
beat
7
Bama,
We went 7-5
they
and
should
then
have
won
lost.
the championship the next season.
they should have lost
It
Iowa State.
can be done, absolutely. But no one was putting
was
us.
picking OU
no
to
one
win.
was
Right.
picking us
We
to
were
go to the
19 at
BCS,
the
right?
preseason.
And no one was. There was no one even hinting at. Had there been a 14 playoff, OU might be the team in the playoff. That's just not going to happen.
So what other games are you excited for?
So I'm excited for OSU, the last Bedlam. I'm a little concerned about it because even though I don't think OSU is going to be any good at all, Gundy always finds a way to be competitive, and I think that there's no beer left. Wow,
Well, Lucas only brought for himself.
God, man, do you need to run in and get another?
No, I'm good.
Sounds
So-
like you screwed up.
So I'm slightly nervous just because it's in Stillwater, and oh my God, if you could will a victory, there will be more prayers and everything going into that game for that side because they're going to want that so bad. So we got to come prepared to shut that down.
I will.
Luckily, we're going to be, I think, significantly better than the competition.
Yeah.
If you think Gundy had pressure all these other times of playing, like you just said,
Can you imagine
to win
the
that
pressure?
game this year,
Absolutely.
Gundy doesn't have pressure to win
And if
that
it's
game.
Gundy, he'll go the other way. He'll
Yeah.
say, "Screw you! I'm not beating them."
I'm playing my backup.
Yeah, exactly. So that's one I'm excited for, just to win the last Bedlam and to move on. And then the other is, although I do circle it as with OSU as a potential trap game, the trappiest of the trap games is BYU. That is, and they're not going to be a good team, but you're going out late in the season. You know that you potentially you may have wrapped up, or you may be in tight contention to wrap up a slot in the conference title. And you don't think so? We're picked to be the top two teams in the conference, Lucas. There's no way we're not in a position to be in the championship game. Am I wrong?
I mean, we were picked that way last year as well.
So who are you two?
So what you're saying, that BYU is a trap game because we play TCU on short rest.
On short rest, and we got to be
Friday
aware of that.
At 11 a.m., by the way. Thank you, Big 12.
After Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
So we've got a lot of things that could hurt. Going on the road, that environment, they're going to want to beat us. They're going to want to establish themselves. They don't have a lot to lose. That's a dangerous position to be in. They will not be contending to play for the Big 12 title. We will be contending to play for the Big 12 title.
I think Kansas is a scary game.
It probably is. That's a last trip that OU may ever take to play in the state of Kansas.
I don't know. We may schedule a game in that brand new stadium that they're planning on building.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Let's talk about that for a second.
It's only
Those
300
renderings
plus
are
million.
insane.
I've seen pipe dreams, and that's one hell of
It's
one.
going to be funny when the Kansas State Championship games are drawing larger crowds than Kansas games themselves. So
No,
So
they let the students in for free those games.
I'm nervous
if I
about the
recall correctly.
BYU game. I think that's a problem. What do you guys' takes on those or any other? You're nervous about Kansas. I think that's a legitimate one to be nervous about.
I'm pretty aligned with your exciting. I'm really, I don't like the city, but I'm excited to go up to Stillwater for that last Bedlam game. That'll be fun. The game itself, excited for it. There's always a sliver of nervousness just because I hate any sort of thought of losing to Oklahoma State, and especially in this scenario of it being this kind of last hurrah for them.
Oh yeah.
Excited for it though. I think it'll be fun. I think the pageantry around it will be fun. I'm excited for the TCU game as well. I think that little bit of rivalry over the past few years has been fun to watch. Especially after last year, what happened, and it'd be fun to get TCU and just pummel them after whatever run they had last year.
I think TCU takes a step back this year, but I also could see them significantly improved come the last game of the season.
Yeah.
So that's
And again, I mean,
They
that's the thing.
got to get a new offensive coordinator.
We're circled right now on we're circled on 12 teams.
Oh.
They've
or
got
on
an
11
offensive
teams,
coordinator.
11 teams calendars. So
Well, at least on 8, right? I mean,
yeah.
so
Their
those-
offensive coordinator is on the same level as our offensive coordinator. They're brother-in-laws.
So they're the same.
Kendall
Kendall.
Briles.
They're
Yeah.
the same. They're
Who,
the same
who runs the same offense.
familial.
Maybe they share.
Level.
Maybe they share playbooks.
They run the same. Yeah, they probably do.
So I don't know. I think it'll be fun. I think BYU excited, but I'm more nervous for that game than I am excited, just because of those people are crazy, dude. That stadium gets up, and we'll see. We'll see
Well,
what
they'll
Gabriel
all be
does
old.
on
They'll
the
all be
road.
30-year-olds.
They'll
And
all
I
be
think the
sober.
team or teams in general, BYU is going to be an exciting game for the team. So
Yeah.
I think they'll be locked in and ready.
yeah,
And to
Easy
come
to
back
get 'em
to
up.
it, it's a game like a Kansas, or
Yeah.
when you play Iowa State
sleeper.
at Iowa State, where the team's just like, I don't feel like playing Kansas today, where you can really come into trouble. But I think the team will be ready
and
go
Kansas
to
is well coached
to go to Provo.
and probably getting better for all things considered. I mean, I don't know if they'll be good enough to, on paper, be competitive. They're probably a double-digit
They have more players.
dog beyond just 2 touchdowns.
I think they have.
but-
Do they have the most players on the first team All Big 12?
Oh, do
They
they
have
really?
5,
Do they really? Huh.
and
okay.
their quarterback is picked to be
Well, that was the coach's.
Offensive Player of the Year. or-
JT Daniels or what's his name? Josh. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Makes sense that we don't know the Kansas quarterback's name.
Will the BYU game be at 9 o'clock?
p.m.
p.m.
7 o'clock.
That would be
out there.
freaking awesome.
No, they're mountain time, I think.
So just one.
So
It's just 1 hour, yeah.
I don't know. They haven't
Will
said it, right?
that be the final Big 12? Like, you're going to play at 9 o'clock on Saturday and then 11 o'clock on Friday.
Yeah.
Good luck. I can see the Big 12 doing that, just to be petty.
Well, I
The
don't. I see them
I
doing
think
it
the TV
wherever
networks.
the money is, and the money probably aligns with that. The money probably aligns with us being a nighttime, Mountain Time Zone
Jalen Daniels.
game,
sorry.
Jalen
and then it's
Daniels, yeah.
already for sure 11 a.m.
Yeah.
for TCU. So, yeah.
Cincinnati's 11. Arkansas State's 11. Texas will be 11.
Any others?
Rooster kickoffs.
Well,
Have they announced the SMU time yet?
That's a 5 p.m. game.
5 p.m. Yeah, it's
5?
yeah,
That's
it's
a random.
yeah,
Is that a
It's,
pay-per-view?
I think it's pay-per-view. Yeah, it's
Pay-per-view,
ESPN
yeah.
Plus or something.
Yeah.
ESPN Plus.
yeah, and
God, they just can't.
they're awful. They're a
Yeah.
joke.
Yeah, so
2:30 at Tulsa.
game time so far, we have Arkansas State at 11 a.m., SMU at 5 p.m., Tulsa at 2:30 p.m., Cincinnati was just announced as an 11 p.m. game, and then TCU is the only other announcement we've had at 11 p.m. on
But we
Black-
know Texas will be
Black
11.
Friday.
Yeah.
And then
Texas
Iowa.
will be
So
11.
Iowa State's in between Texas and
Cincinnati.
Cincinnati.
We've got a good little
That,
spread.
that'll probably be a night game.
That'll be
I bet
11
that's a
a.m.
night game.
We've got a good little spread of home games to away games and how they're spaced out and stuff. So it's not like I feel like some of these recent past seasons, we're finishing our last home game 2 weeks before the season ends, and it's brutal finishing those last 2 weeks on the road.
Yeah,
so.
it's nice having that break. We actually lucked out on the schedule. The time-wise may suck, but we lucked out on the schedule for sure.
Yep. No
For
Kansas
whatever
State,
reason.
no
That
Baylor,
worked
no
out
Tech.
really well. Well, speaking of that, let's revisit OU record predictions. I am going to keep us at 11-1. Note that the over/under in Vegas is 9.5 wins for OU. So in this, you're implying whether they're over or under. Connor, what do you got?
I'm gonna tick up the hill. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna adjust my prediction to 10-2.
10-2 from 9-3 to 10-2.
Drinking Kool-Aid over the last 10 days.
All right, Lucas, what do you got? You got to go to 8-4.
9-3.
Sticking with 9-3. Sticking with the under. We're going to lose 3 games on that schedule.
Yep.
So,
And none of them. Well, the only one that's even close to us should be Texas, and maybe TCU. But
is that a pretty disappointing schedule? Are you predicting a disappointing record?
yes,
You're predicting disappointment.
with this schedule, you should go no worse than 11-1.
And you're
in my
predicting we're going to be disappointing.
opinion. Yes.
What fundamentally is driving that?
Probably my last 35 solid years of watching OU football.
Including that national championship and those 14
Yep.
conference championships?
Yep.
What I don't understand how that translates. How do you get there?
It just does.
So what do you think we're not going to lose a non-conference game, right?
No, we won't lose a non-conference game.
So are we going to lose at home or on the road?
Well, we'll lose a neutral site,
Uh-huh.
Texas.
There's a loss.
We can lose.
This is almost a hot take.
Good
right here.
chance we lose to TCU, even though it's a home game. And
Because
then
it's at 11 a.m. They wear purple.
it's on a Friday.
It's a Friday. We don't
Yeah,
play good on
We don't
Fridays.
play good on Fridays. And then just a random.
Okay, could be anybody.
Could be anybody.
Jay, what do you got? You had 10-2 before.
I'm still at 10-2.
10-2, sticking with it.
I mean,
All
I'm
right.
drinking the Kool-Aid more.
Do you think, and I'm not going to try to nudge you, but do you think by the Sunday pod, on the pregame pod that we're planning in a couple of weeks, will you have moved up any or moved down, or what do you
No,
think?
I think I'm pretty sold on
You're
10
not
and
drinking
2.
any more Kool-Aid.
No. Nah, I might change. Oh, after the Texas game.
Yeah, I think we all might change after the Texas game. We might have a different outlook. We win at Texas, and we're 6-0. I don't know. Katie barred the door.
Yeah.
Like, that 9-3 is not looking real
You're
good.
buying playoff tickets.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I could see it even before the Texas game. I mean,
Yeah.
if
What you see on the field.
our first 5
If we come out
games
against the Red
are
Wolves
just
and we just kick some
legitimately
butt.
dominant, but we've all watched enough football to know there's difference in wins.
Don't overemphasize
You would think because
it.
we did that against Nebraska last year, though.
Cincinnati and Iowa State. I mean, it's
Iowa
obvious,
State,
but-
their problem is they're decimated. So I don't think you can gain anything from Iowa State other than their defense.
Their starting quarterback's not going to be able to play.
They're starting
Yeah,
running
how
back.
many-
No,
how
they're,
many,
they're
how
down
many
all kinds
eligible
of
players will they have?
They had a top 5 defense last year, though.
Yeah.
So a little bit that'll speak offensively to hopefully what we're doing. That's all Matt Campbell has. Is a
Honestly,
defense
it'll
to lean on.
it'll be what does the O-line look like? And for the first time in a while, our criticism of Beanbo's, moving players around and not sure what his line's going to be, doesn't seem to be the case this year.
Until 4 people get hurt this week.
Right. The same 5 entered fall camp as like this is the 5, and for 2 weeks now that's the same 5.
When is the last time you could say that? 2018?
Yeah, I don't even know because even the 17 year, Wren was the center, right?
Right.
Because Creed didn't take over till 4 or 5 games this season, and then was Orlando Brown the left tackle? I think Alvarez or somebody was the left tackle.
I think Brown was a pretty solidified left tackle
I think he
in
started the whole
17.
time.
I think 16 he was more up in the air, but 17 I think he was end to end.
It seems like maybe right guard they swapped out a couple times.
because he got drafted after the 17 year, I believe, right? Brown.
I don't recall.
No.
That
90%
seems
sure he
right.
did.
That seems right. Well, that bodes really well.
But for the first, if the O-line looks like they're gelling and we're not having to move people in and there's not injuries and a guy or two break out at receiver, Gabriel's hitting on some plays that he missed last year. Looks like Levy's learned clock management and pace management.
And defense is better.
And the defense is better.
And
than
I think a
I
big
could
thing
see-
with the defense, can we turn the ball? Can we get turnovers? Like,
Yeah.
this defense should be producing turnovers
Well,
more than what we have.
Some stats were, the losses mask so much even positivity from last year. But didn't we lead the league in interceptions? And Brent says we dropped 6 in our hands.
Yeah.
So that was a weird stat. We were like top 1 or 2 in tackles for losses. And I thought we had no pressure
Well,
last
no,
year.
remember we would have 2 tremendous tackle for losses, and then we'd give up a third down, traditional to what we've seen over the last few years. So if we can just serve on that third down, that is essentially a turnover.
Completely changes the game.
It changes the game. It flips the field. Everything's different than if you give that up and all of a sudden, what are you talking about? You're talking about a team that's at the 40-yard line, which what are they going to do? They're probably going to get into scoring position at that point based on the fact that they've got to the 40-yard line. So
Here's a question.
Everything helps.
Has Andrew Rame in the offseason learned how to snap the ball to a
No.
left-handed quarterback?
surely.
Probably not.
Does that happen?
Like, how about learn to
Probably
snap the
not.
ball to a quarterback?
How about don't float it to his right side
Yeah.
and him have to adjust on every single snap? And how about you snap it with some force where he can catch it on the left and be ready to throw the ball?
Well, and the left is a luxury. We'd love to see it, and we should see it. Just right into his chest would be fine.
I don't know why
Not
you don't
lower
just,
right.
No.
I don't know why you don't just scoot over a half step. If you're Gabriel, it'll come right to you.
Right.
Because the running backs have to scoot over too. Then and then
Rain would
then your whole-
subconsciously adjust and be snapping the ball at a 45
Well, what you got to
degree
do, yeah,
angle.
what you got to do is you got to watch him
And then wait and then
then
move.
move over. Right? Yeah.
get set, and then you scoot a step to the right.
Go.
Little things. Little things.
Go Blue 19, ready, and scoot.
The Gabriel Scoot, we're gonna call
Yeah.
it. All right. Well, we got 2 more pods to go before the first game. We're gonna pod next week, probably on Tuesday, maybe Thursday.
A lot of predictions.
A lot of predictions coming out, and then we're gonna have an all OU, which will probably sneak in some other stuff and other hot takes on a big Sunday pod from our new sponsor. That's exciting. We're gonna be coming at you with a lot of stuff. We got the new studio. We are rip roaring and ready to go. So until then, Boomer.
Sooner.